It takes a brave and independent mindset to go tiny. If you are trying to figure out your tiny pivot, this podcast is here to inspire and connect you with the other unconventional, gritty, inspirational people within this community. I am Laura Lynch, your tiny house friend and host. On this show, we are always going to come back to money because as a financial planner, this is the question I hear the most. How do I make this work for me financially? Well, that's my jam, so jump in, let's go. New episodes drop every Thursday. Well, Stanley Acton, welcome to Less House More Moola podcast. You and I intercepted at the Tiny Fest in California,
yes,
San Jose earlier this year,
yep.
And super glad that we got a chance to meet, and now we get a chance to have a really cool conversation about family integrity planning, which is something that in the financial planner world we're always talking about. So thanks so much for being here.
Well, you're so welcome. I feel fortunate to be here, and I feel fortunate to have just sort of crossed paths sort of randomly at that event. So I think it's all good.
That's the serendipity of, events in the universe, right? You just never know who you're going to run into.
So true.
And how you might be able to collaborate or whatever. Yep. It's awesome. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story and your company.
All right. Well, my name's Stanley Acton. I'm the founder of Acton ADU. And we've been working on residential construction for just getting started. We've been doing it for 35 years. So, and we're really specializing in helping families build sort of these spaces that hold them together. And when ADUs became a thing, we really just embraced that opportunity. And so, it's all about creating housing for today and tomorrow, and keeping families together, and flexible living, and those are all things I'm passionate about. And boy, ADUs just really sung to me when I knew it was going to be possible to really focus on those.
Yeah. And would you say that possibility was sort of rolled out in California based on legalization progress? Is that why it kind of came to your into your awareness those many years ago?
Yeah. I have a friend who is involved in government in various ways and was part of the building of the legislation that allowed ADUs to become a thing. And he called me and said, "Stan, this thing is going to be real, and I want you to build one for us." And I was like, "What is an ADU?" And looked into it and talked to him, and we ended up. He was one of the very first ones to get an ADU permit once it was allowed, and we built it in his backyard, and boy, it just really resonated with me, and ever since then, it's been a passion and a focus of mine.
That's awesome. So, for the listeners, you're located where?
So we're in our office is in Campbell, California. We do work basically pretty much all over the Bay Area. Down to Gilroy and up to San Francisco and East Bay, but our office is in Bay Area, and our goal is really sort of those long-term solutions for Bay Area families and bringing it all together for them.
Yeah, you've seen a lot happen in over 35 years in California in the home industry. There's been so many changes. I mean, we all that don't live in California are aware of how expensive housing has become there, and how difficult it is for people to stay there once they kind of grow up, because they have to have the income to support it. So tell us what you've seen over the years in terms of families being able to be close together, and what trends that you've witnessed over time.
Yeah, happy to give you some perspective there. So we moved to the Bay Area in 1963. I was 3 years old at the time, and one of the main reasons we moved here is because my father's brother lived here, and we wanted to be close to family, and we wanted that sort of that family connection. And so, over time, it seems like kids have grown up and moved away, or parents have gone to assisted living, and so over the decades, sort of the family dynamic seemed to change when we moved since I was a kid, um, and multi-generational family living seemed to kind of be deprioritized over the years. Um, I mean, I've got dozens of stories of that, but it's really exciting to see that maybe there's a trend in the other direction now.
Yeah, that's so interesting, especially in your work, because you're seeing kind of that pendulum swinging back,
Yeah.
right? Where families are trying to be more co-located. What do you think is some of the root causes for that?
Oh man, there's a lot of root causes for that. I think that I think with all sort of social changes, society goes through sort of an experimentation period, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think that there's just a general human need to be close to family and to have that security and create those multi-generational living environments. I lived in Germany for a year, and there are these big houses that hold 3-4 generations and 2 or 3 families. And I remember looking at those when I was a kid, going, "Wow, we don't have anything like that in the United States." But now we're beginning to see that trend come back. And if you look at it from like a historical standpoint, over the millennia, there has been this sort of norm where family stays physically and emotionally close to each other, to really support each other, not only financially but emotionally. There's millennia of precedence for this, and the trend that we're sort of coming out of now was, in retrospect, really pretty short term. And what we're seeing now is families wanting to be connected. One of the bonuses of the ADU world is it is sort of a transition back into that, in that there is a real close proximity, but there's also a real sense of privacy. So you kind of get both opportunities: privacy, independence, but yet connectedness, and that's a powerful combination.
Yeah, I love that, because you're so right. Like, historically, we lived in villages, and everyone that was in your tribe was together. And then we, with the Industrial Revolution and everyone going to work, perhaps it started to spread families out, and people were moving to take the best job. But then what we find is the social support system is best with our family members, in terms of having that village around your kids, if you have kids,
Yeah.
or around the elders. And so we have to kind of reverse course and come back together in order to take care of each other, because that's just where the best resources
Yeah,
are.
and this is just really personal for me. I'm fortunate enough. I'm in my 60s, but both of my parents are still with us and active and healthy. But about 5 years ago, they recognized that living in Montana away from the kids was not a great long-term solution, and so they sold their house in Montana and moved in close. And so this is and now my sister's daughter is pregnant, and so very soon there's going to be 4 generations in very close proximity.
Yeah, that's awesome. I too am, personally planning for, where my mom goes at that time when she feels like she needs to be closer to her
Yep.
kids. And I'd love to have a family compound, right, with my brother nearby. And you just feel more anchored, right, when you've got your family around
Yep.
you.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're seeing different now is that people are understanding this at a different level, and they're actively planning for it, as opposed to sort of just letting it happen. And that's a wonderful development.
Yeah. So, in my world as a financial planner, obviously we're always trying to work towards helping, families grow their wealth, their financial independence, and, provide ways and efficiencies for them to pass it down. And when I start to think about the multi-generational family setup, there's a lot of questions that pop up, like how do you do this? What does the ownership structure look like? And so as you've been working with families over these many years, how have you seen families structure this when you've got multiple families living on one parcel? How is it affecting their wealth building? Share with us the money parts of this.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background before that. What we're really seeing drive that is sort of a desire to sort of age in place in an environment where we really have an affordability crisis, right? And not only to have it be affordable, but also to provide sort of the context for the peace of mind. And that long-term investment aspect of it. And so you're in exactly the right business to help families with this complicated algebra of how do you have housing, how do you have family wealth, how do you have peace of mind, how do you have a long-term plan. I applaud you for doing what you're doing, because it is so needed. When I go out and talk to customers, a lot of times they're asking me questions about those kinds of things, and I have some level of knowledge there, but I always say you should really talk to a professional about that, because you don't want to talk to your general contractor about how to structure your financial legal assets. So I'm grateful that there are people doing what you're doing, and finding really creative ways to preserve that family wealth and to build that family wealth and make it a multi-generational, long-term kind of strategy. So, all the way down to grandkids. I think about my niece who's pregnant now, and I think about that little kid coming into the world and all the complexities that kid is going to be facing. And holy cow, it's not just put 10% of your paycheck in a savings account every week anymore. It's a complicated equation. So, one of the things about ADUs is they really are a significant asset, and if you are of the mindset that preserving family wealth and multi-generational wealth is what you're trying to achieve, it really benefits you to take a deep breath, step back, and talk to somebody who can help you structure it legally and financially, and make it so that you can sleep at night and you're not worried about what happens in the event of a million different possibilities that could happen. So, we're really seeing families think about it from the long term. I swear, it seems like I get this call every week where I ask people, so, why are you thinking about building an ADU? And so often their answer is, well, right now my parents need this, that, and this, but, my kids are going to be coming home from college, and, I want to provide them a place where they can launch their careers. And at some point in time, they'll move into the main house and we'll move into the ADU. And, in the interim, maybe we'll rent it. And so it's this flexible long-term asset that people are really starting to wrap their heads around. I almost never had that conversation back in 2017, 2018, when ADUs were first getting started. But now people are starting to understand it, and they're really starting to appreciate it, and people are really starting to value it. And with the turbulence in the world, I think that is really driving a lot of this desire to sort of pull back and to create sort of that secure family personal portfolio.
On Less House More Moola, we hear so many stories of people living unconventional lives. Each of them is literally building their alt-American dream. Are you tired of putting your dreams on hold because of money? Well, let's fix it. I have a 2-part offering that is here to help you. First, I'm going to give you access to my financial freedom calculator so that you'll understand your numbers and have a tangible starting point. This is free. And then second, we'll book a session to figure out your finances so that you can live your alt-American dream as soon as possible. This is paid. Why am I giving you something for free? Because I'm passionate about empowering people to choose an unconventional path. So let's work together to figure out money so that you will know that you've officially taken action on your plans. This offering is for you if you're unsure of your cost of living or how much savings you might need. You don't know what money move to make next. You dream of an unconventional life built on your terms. You're seeking a permanent solution and not a one-time motivational boost. You want to learn about money from someone who shares your interest in breaking away from the norm. So what do you think? Are you tired of starting sentences with someday when I? Then go to altamericandream.com and get the financial freedom calculator. Yeah, I love that. That's definitely what we're doing here on our property. We built, a 400 square foot residence for my stepson, and he gets to get through college without, having to worry about the cost of his housing, and we're, helping him get started in life. And when he takes his first job, he'll still be able to live there, and so then he can save more, or
Right.
pivot if it's not a good fit or whatever. And it just creates this amazing safety net when the housing box is checked. Right. And then you can really just be more risk-taking, perhaps create something new and innovative. You can focus on your values and find a career that really is meaningful to you.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry so much about making sure you can pay for the rent. And I think that this is just has so many benefits for young people, which, to your point, have so many struggles that they're going to have to face in life.
It's just amazing.
And so just having that one thing maybe off their plate is super helpful, and maybe not forever, but just, through that transition point. So you've already touched on it, but what do you feel like are all the sort of mental, the physical, the psychological benefits that you've seen your clients, what are the benefits that they've had from putting ADUs on their property?
Yeah, I mean, really, the benefits are really incredible. First of all, the financial security is wonderful. You put in $1 in an ADU, into building an ADU, and by the time you're done, it's worth more than $1. So it's not really considered an expense. It's really considered an investment if you're looking at it from a balance sheet standpoint. But really, we built one for my next door neighbor. So when I walk out my back door and I look over the fence, I see an ADU that I built, and her mother is living in it now. But before that, they rented it to traveling nurses for a while, and they also have kids coming home from college that will use it, and they plan to move into it. And so, they have this real sense of family security. I know I've talked about it a lot, but I can't emphasize how important it is enough. And Suzanne can now just go out into the backyard, check on her mom. It's 30 seconds worth of investment to check on mom, instead of calling and driving 4 hours, which she used to have to do to see how things were going. So you can just look out the back window and see if the lights are on. And so that provides a tremendous amount of peace of mind for them. The mom, she has just blossomed since she moved in there, because she has this sense of security, this sense of independence, and this sense that if she needs help, it's 60 yards away or 50 yards away or whatever it is. And so that is a really powerful aspect that is very personal to me, because I'm very good friends with the people next door. In addition to being their contractor, I get to see the impact that it's really having on a real family on a real-time basis.
Yeah, I think those are all, things that maybe we don't put dollar signs on sometimes, right? That sense of, wow, it's just so easy to make sure my mom's okay, rather than having to get in a plane and take time off from work and get a rental car, or call my brother who we have a challenged relationship, or whatever the case may be. Like, just having that proximity means that not only is it easier and more peace of mind, but also more frequency.
Yep.
Right? More ability to have frequent quality time with your loved ones, and spend time with them without having it be such a big hassle. I mean, even going to my grandmother's house when I was a kid, right? That was, a 20-minute drive, and it, kind of got planned and whatever. But gosh, just having folks closer at hand just means that you can just have a deeper relationship.
And one of the things that I hadn't necessarily thought of, but I've really witnessed, is it, and it's really valuable. It really provides the residents of the ADU a real sense of independence and self power. Compared to if it's an attached ADU, or if it's like, a bedroom in the house or a separate part of the house, just having it be a physically separate residence with, they can get to the street and, walk out and go to the store and nobody has to know. It's psychologically much more powerful than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I was just talking to someone else recently who's been trying to, consolidate households with parents, and that giving up of the independence is just a huge sticking point for all of us, right? We all want to be considered independent. It's deeply rooted in our culture to be able to take care of ourselves and make sure that, we have everything we need, and to give up that independence by being in that third bedroom or what have you, is just probably enough of a barrier to keep people from, from agreeing to that.
It seems small, but man, it's really, if I want to have my toothbrush on the counter instead of in the cabinet, that's where I want my toothbrush, right? And just those little things, those little everyday impacts, I've really seen that be much more powerful than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I was in Minneapolis recently for a conference and was standing in a really long security line at the airport on my way out, and I ran into an architect there, and I have, a sticker on my bag that says the podcast name, right? So we had this really long conversation through the security line about how every single house that he designs, he tries to cram an ADU somewhere into the space. It would seem that houses with ADUs are not just from a per square foot perspective or, number of bedrooms perspective, but just from a demand perspective would seem to me to be more in demand than homes without ADUs. Yeah. So do you find that homes in your area that have ADUs, even when compared apples for apples on like per square foot price, the ones with ADUs are selling for higher price points?
We do. We see... when first ADUs first came out, there was no real clear idea about how much they were going to be worth, and because there was no market data, right? And appraisals are always done based on market data. And so recently we had 7 of our projects appraised, both before and after, with and without the ADU, and they spanned the kinds of neighborhoods, high end, middle, and low end neighborhoods. And in all cases, the cost to build the ADU, plus design it, plus permits, the whole thing cost less than the amount of value that it added to the property. And so we definitely, and you might not be surprised that there's a lot of realtors in my network, and when I talk to them, all of them are talking about ADUs, and all of them have clients that are asking about ADUs, and it's here to stay. It is here to stay for sure, and so we do see a demand uptick for properties with ADUs.
Yeah, it makes sense. Everybody's looking, especially in the younger generations, everybody's looking also for the rental opportunities, but it seems like you all have focused more on the multi-generational angle than on the rental angle.
From a philosophical and a values standpoint, yes. We certainly do build just for investment. People that are just looking for an investment, and it is a good investment, but that's not where my heart is.
Yeah, it's good to have your heart in your work. So, do you have anything else that you think is really important for folks to know?
There's a lot of different ways of going about getting an ADU. And I would encourage people to not rush into it and to really understand sort of the differences in approaches. You can get prefab, you can get stick built, you can get modular.
ADU options.
Evaluate the different ADU options and make sure that what you're investing in is truly a long-term asset instead of just a sort of a short-term fix. I think that's a crucial concept to take into account.
Yeah, because you can spend a lot of money on an RV in your backyard if you are able to put an RV in your backyard, but that's not really going to hold up for the long term. If you're going to, put additional, living structures on your property, like looking for ones that are going to act like a primary residence in terms of longevity is probably
Yeah,
important.
that's right along the lines of what I'm talking about. That's a good summary.
Yeah, good. So please share for any listeners in the Bay Area that are looking for ADUs and adding that multi-generational element to their family property. Where can listeners find and track you down?
So we are at Acton, Acton, Acton ADU, and we with family integrity planning in mind, which is really, it's an idea that just sort of hit me. The term hit me at one point in time. I was like, wait a minute, this is really all about family integrity planning and helping people find the resources to do that kind of planning. And in doing that, it really made sense to me to be able to provide sort of fast, easy, efficient solutions to family integrity planning issues. And so since that time, we've developed a series of ADUs that are what we call build ready ADUs. And you can go on our website and you can go there and select one of our build ready ADUs and configure them the way you want. You can choose the siding, you can choose the kitchen layout, you can choose the bathroom layout, and really it makes it very easy to get a really quality structure without a lot of uncertainty. And so at Acton ADU, this functionality just launched within the past 48 hours, so we're very excited about it. But it's a way to go and interact with what we have to offer in a way that at first it can be kind of hands off. You don't have to call somebody and think maybe that somebody's going to be bugging you on the phone or whatever. You can just go there, go to the website, play around with it, and get a feel for what's possible. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, build ready. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Stan, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this amazing concept that I think lots of us are thinking about. How do we bring our family members together and create both that safety net and stability, but also, build some wealth around our families.
Yeah.
I think this was, super valuable for folks.
Yeah, thank you for making this happen today. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to your amazing success and working with you on future ideas.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to listen to Less House More Moola. I have another free resource on my website for you, the Unconventional Values Quiz. In just 2 minutes, you can pinpoint your style of freedom seeker, security guardian, adventure enthusiast, or community builder. Check it out at thetinyhouseadvisor.com. And one more thing. Podcasts don't have algorithms like social media does. They only grow by word of mouth and reviews. If this podcast is helpful to you, would you please post a review on your podcast app and tell a friend who is trying to live a values-based life? It would totally make my day.
Please see the show notes for important disclosure regarding the Tiny House Advisor LLC and this episode.